What do a talking cowboy toy, a vengeful bride, and a boxer have in common? They're all getting awards today. However, the Oscars wish they handed out awards like Most Underrated and Best Performance. I'll be discussing 25 iconic films that are part of IMDb's Top 250 list, including Toy Story, perhaps a Quentin Tarantino movie or two, and along the way they're going to each receive a superlative. Some will be insightful, others will be more playful, but all are going to come with prestige of a Golden Globe. Can someone kick us off?
And here we go.
An excellent transition to our first movie, The Dark Knight. Not only did the Joker help get this video off the ground, but he did the same for this film, which is why this gets Best Opening Scene to set the tone. A chaotic bank robbery scene with Joker taking out each of his henchmen along the way. As soon as he took the mask off, we knew we were in for a treat. Let's switch to a film with a lighter tone. You can't go wrong with a Studio Ghibli film. Princess Mononoke, number 82 on IMDb's Top 250 list, and winner of the award, wait, this is Studio Ghibli? The bloodiest of the bunch that made even Disney flinch when they wanted to become the North American distributor. Yet it still delivers with their usual beauty of storytelling, animation, and imagination that few can match. Speaking of beauty, this next movie may be one of the most beautiful films anyone's ever laid their eyes on. 2001, A Space Odyssey. It had been labeled the death of sci-fi, the implications being that nothing released could match.
I'm sorry, Dave.
We award this film the movie that was perhaps too ahead of its time. This next film, while still high quality, doesn't hit quite the same for me. Number 89 on the list is Singin' in the Rain. The plot is surprisingly strong and tied together nicely by the end. However, the character Lena Lamont is too much to bear at times and is awarded the most idiotic character that can't take a hint for her relationship, or should I say lack thereof, with the lead, Don Lockwood. While not as complimentary about that last one, at least I can call it a film. The same cannot be said for Hamilton. A great play, but getting a release on Disney Plus is not enough to call this a fucking movie, let alone one that's going to be inside the top 250? A disgrace to any other films out there. This earns the most likely to question the definition of movie award. Now, the way I showed my anger for Hamilton was colorful. There are several movies in this next group of 5 which bring even more color to the forefront. Next up is a smaller budget Quentin Tarantino film, Reservoir Dogs. The story is gritty, compelling, full of character. It's also full of enough characters, named after colors, to make a small crayon box. We award Reservoir Dogs the most colorful movie, for obvious reasons. Let's take a detour from color, and sound, and any other senses that may be necessary for one to view a film. Now, in all seriousness, this was my very first silent film that I watched, which is also void of color. There are several movies in this next group of 5 which bring even more color to the forefront. Don't go crying like the kid from The Kid. It was fantastic acting and an easy recipient for the best facial expression. You don't need color or sound to get choked up. This truly hits the feels and showed its goodness on the inside and out. Speaking of which, our next movie is Inside Out.
It's brilliant, 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 I tell you. Genius, I say.
Another film rich with colors that makes the viewers hyper-aware of their own emotions. Inside Out gets the award for Disney actually sees human beings as people. It's interesting to see emotions personified in the way it was, and I'm impressed that Disney actually took a stance and wanted to show depression in a children's film. They got some slack from parents, but I think this is one of their better creative decisions in the 21st century. Let's keep rolling with films that make people think deeper than comfortable. Wild Strawberries is a Swedish film directed by the legendary Ingmar Bergman. It makes you most likely to reminisce about your life. It's simply told, and despite being in the IMDb Top 250 list, one I still feel is very much under-discussed. I won't get too descriptive, as my next upload is actually going to be about Wild Strawberries, a deeper dive into some of the themes discussed. Please subscribe to the channel to watch when it comes out. One prominent theme I will spoil about the film is regret. I'm afraid I felt those emotions when it comes to how I watched this next film. Next up is an early Christopher Nolan project, Memento. This movie is the worst movie to watch while barely coherent at 3:30 a.m. I might as well have been drunk when watching this. I've been waking up early as we have a baby under 1 year old, as typical for a parent. And while I've been good watching most films around the 2 to 4 a.m. mark, this film requires you to watch the story backwards and forwards, meet in the middle. Now, while these past 5 videos were full of color, or completely void of it, these next 5 films are brutal, violent, and ones that see viewers seeing red. Simply Safe can step aside because Seven Samurai is the best home security system of all time. Seventh Samurai is a slow burn that builds on the recruitment of the samurai, preparations of the bandit attack, and a final battle that, frankly, it delivers. A simple moment like planting rice to close the film was another example of how Kurosawa was a master storyteller. Sticking with movies from the East, we've got Oldboy, a nutty Korean film that has a very up plot. Our boy Dae-soo is kidnapped and locked in a room for 15 years. So this earns the Most Stir-Crazy award. Take a look at his hair. That looks like most of us after the initial COVID lockdown. Take someone like Dae-soo, add 14 more lunatics that are looking to scalp Nazis, and you've got Inglourious Bastards in all their glory. Kidding aside, it'd be a crime if I didn't discuss Christoph Waltz's performance in this. He deserves a ton of love for being maybe one of the most superbly acted villains of all time. On the other side of that coin, Brad Pitt delivers as a swashbuckling, arrogant hooligan who is the perfect man to lead this group of degenerates. And they have earned their superlative, most unprofessional military group. Now, we've just spoken about 3 films of predominantly scary men, but is there anything more scary than a scorned bride? We're talking about Kill Bill Volume 1 here, and of course the bride has as good a reason as anyone to lash out after her wedding day. However, I'm still giving her most likely to be a bridezilla. Next time you see a bride writing a bunch of names, get the hell away from her. This next movie includes several characters that I wouldn't get anywhere near for a risk of my own safety.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Maybe they're nicer than I thought. That seems about right. As you may be able to tell, this next film is Mad Max Fury Road, which is fantastic in its visuals and keeping viewers on the edge of their seats. It's a constant build-up to a bittersweet conclusion, which is why I'm calling this the most intense fever dream or nightmare. While these last 5 films certainly don't pull back on action, these next 5 are going to take a different approach to pacing, but still provide those memorable moments. Film looked a lot different in 1931. And the world was a much different place. You have to remember this as you're watching something as aged as this next film. Its name is M, which confuses Google unless you add the term movie afterwards. This film is ahead of its time, with themes of mob behavior, mental illness, and use of an antagonist that's a child abductor and murderer. Now, from the viewer's POV, we know who the murderer is. But please, just take a look at this man. This is the one with the most obvious murderer. It's so obvious that even a blind man is the first that puts it together in this film. However, this next film beautifully provides intrigue and suspense around the crimes. LA Confidential doesn't make it easy to guess which of the 3 primary characters could be good. As it turns out, all were flawed, all had different motivations, but all were good by the end. It's a strong trio of Russell Crowe, Kevin Spacey, and Guy Pearce. You may be wondering why I'm buttering this movie up with all the compliments. Well, I have some bad news. I'm labeling this movie Guy Pearce's character is an obnoxiously annoying fuck. Now, a character who is annoying to others, but one of my personal favorites is M. Gustav from the Grand Budapest Hotel. This film is beautiful. I love the color grading and the fun-natured storytelling of a murder mystery. This has Knives Out vibes with a terrific cast that can match. Gustav, who's played by Ralph Fiennes, earns the most delightful concierge in the world. From an interesting man to a strongly addicting plot, the American debut of Denis Villeneuve, Prisoners, brings a level of discomfort with the plot centering around the kidnapping of 2 young girls. Hiding within the plot was a red whistle, which kick-started all of this. It was what Hugh Jackman's character's daughter went to find before disappearing. The final scene utilizes the whistle perfectly in what I consider the most chilling whistle of all time. Chilling, gut-wrenching, powerful. These are appropriate adjectives for the expertly crafted tale, 1917. The intent of the shooting is to make the audience feel as if the entire filming of this is done in one continuous take. Of course, this isn't what happened, but the effect is well delivered. I'm going to confuse myself even with the superlative I'll give this, as this film has perhaps the most powerful moment being a run, but the entire film is the most eventful walk in cinema history. I'm about to finish this video off with 5 heavy hitters, but before we get there, please leave some comments below, leave your own superlatives, let me know what you think of mine. I promise you heavy hitters, and there are not many that can deliver more than Rocky. Anyone who hasn't seen this movie assumes it's a boxing film, and they aren't necessarily wrong, but it could be argued that this is a love story with a subplot of boxing. It's a fun debate, and the reason I'm labeling this most misunderstood. Now, keeping up with the boxing metaphor, how about a story that offers the best 1-2 punch in animation? Perhaps all of cinema. You may not realize that this was the studio's debut, But Pixar's Toy Story is a proper classic that is remembered for Woody and Buzz Lightyear, a phenomenal soundtrack from Randy Newman, and a springboard for many young people, such as myself, to fall in love with stories. Another movie that concluded a childhood's worth of film was Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Truthfully, I was a little surprised to see any of these films within the top 250, but if any of them needed to make it, it would be this one. It does a wonderful job of tying a bow on the series. By the end of the story, not to mention the filming, it's hard to believe that these are 17-year-old kids. Therefore, the most likely to have a midlife crisis at 35 goes to Harry Potter and Company. Speaking of midlife crisis, let's talk about Thanos, who's most likely to snap in Avengers Infinity War. I'm a dad now. I'm allowed to tell dad jokes. If only Thanos could hang out with some of the Avengers, maybe he could laugh instead of trying to decimate half the universe. Next, we've got one of the greatest examples of character development in the business, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And it wins the most satisfying face turn in all of cinema. This film is packed with iconic scenes, loads of action, but nothing stands out to me more than John Connor stuck between Terminator and T-1000. A wonderful swerve and way to differentiate the first two films.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Now hold on, before we go. I thought we should take some time to recognize 3 additional films for what I'm going to consider platinum superlatives. Most underrated, top memory, and best performance will be awarded today. And we're going to finish each episode of this series with 3 similar superlatives. So for most underrated, we're going with Wild Strawberries. It offers a rich experience, makes viewers reflect on their own lives. Once again, that'll be discussed in another video shortly. It's on Max. I highly recommend the watch. Next, my favorite memory, which was referenced recently, and it's going to Terminator becoming a good guy, protecting John Connor. You couldn't help but be impressed with him in the first film, but it is nice to actually be able to root for him in the second. Lastly, top performance won't be much of a shocker. It's going to Heath Ledger's portrayal of Joker. It's breathtaking, timeless, and it's one I could watch over and over again. Truthfully, something that made me inspired to continue watching film. Now it's 25 movies down, and we've only begun to scratch the surface. We'll continue to discuss incredible films in future uploads, and yes, you can expect Tarantino and Christopher Nolan to be included in some more. I hope you enjoyed your day at Wallywood, and I hope you'll see me next time.